September 7th, 2006. In a luxury hotel suite in downtown Manhattan, a 19-year-old runway model stands in front of a mirror, staring anxiously at a tiny amber prescription bottle. New York Fashion Week begins in exactly 48 hours, and her entire career depends on meeting a strict, unyielding agency measurement. She has been running on black coffee and raw willpower for days, but her weight has completely plateaued. Suddenly, an agency handler knocks on the door and slides an unmarked packet onto the counter. Inside are small white pills. There is no official medical label, no brand name, and no doctor's signature. The instructions are delivered verbally, in a quiet whisper. Take one every morning before your coffee. It's an exclusive metabolic booster straight from Europe. Trusting the high-status professionals around her, she swallows the first pill. Within hours, her heart is racing, her hands are shaking, and her appetite vanishes entirely. To her, it feels like a miracle drug. For years, rumors circulated quietly through the industry about a secret supplement distributed to young models behind closed doors. But the public would never hear about it until a leaked investigation and a series of sudden, unexplained medical emergencies forced the truth into the open. Everyone believed these elite girls were just using superior discipline and high-end personal trainers to hit runway weight. But as the corporate layers began to unravel, insiders discovered something far more calculated. If these mystery pills weren't standard weight loss supplements, what were they actually putting into these girls' bodies? Why was the industry so desperate to keep the formula a secret? And what is the permanent health price these models paid just to fit into a sample size? In the mid-2000s, the modeling industry built an entire economy around a single number: sample size. Designers cut their runway garments to one measurement, and agencies had exactly one job: get their girls into that measurement, no matter how unrealistic it was for a normal adult body. Models weren't paid to be healthy. They were paid to disappear into a piece of fabric. Handlers and bookers controlled almost every part of a young model's life: where she lived, who she saw, what she ate, and increasingly what she took. Many of these girls were teenagers, flown into a new country alone, financially dependent on the same agency that was pressuring them to lose weight in days, not months. So when rumors started moving through backstage circles about a secret supplement that could strip weight fast, nobody was shocked. Models had already heard whispers about cigarettes used as appetite suppressants, cotton balls swallowed to fake fullness, and diuretics passed around like candy. A mystery pill from Europe barely raised an eyebrow. What made this one different is that it worked almost too well. Girls who took it described the same pattern: a racing heartbeat, trembling hands, and a total loss of appetite within hours. And whatever it wasn't behind a pharmacy counter. It moved through handlers, not doctors. For years, that's all anyone really knew. Then, in the early 2000s, journalists and former insiders started comparing notes. And when investigators finally uncovered the chemical formula behind the European pill, they discovered it wasn't designed for humans at all. It was clenbuterol. Clenbuterol was developed as a bronchodilator for horses with respiratory conditions, meant to open up airways in animals with breathing problems. But clenbuterol has a side effect that has nothing to do with lungs. It's a powerful stimulant that revs up the body's metabolism and suppresses appetite, which is exactly why bodybuilders had already been using it off-label for years to strip fat before competitions. It was cheap, it was easy to get through unofficial channels, and its effects lined up perfectly with what models had been describing: racing heart, shaking hands, appetite gone within hours of taking it. Insiders who spoke to journalists said clenbuterol had quietly become an open secret in certain agency circles, passed off to girls under vague names like the European pill or the metabolic booster, so nobody had to say the word clenbuterol out loud. The reason it stayed hidden for so long wasn't complicated. No agency wanted its name attached to a drug meant for livestock, especially one that came with real cardiac risk when used by an already underweight teenager. So it was never written down, never prescribed, and never explained. Just handed over in an unmarked packet, the same way it happened in that Manhattan hotel room in 2006. But as more former models and insiders came forward, investigators realized clenbuterol wasn't the only thing circulating backstage. Some girls described a completely different substance, one that didn't come from a black market supplier at all, but from an actual doctor's office. That substance was thyroid medication, specifically a synthetic hormone called cytomel, also known as T3. Cytomel is a real, legitimate drug used to treat people with an underactive thyroid. But in the wrong dose, given to someone whose thyroid is working perfectly fine, it does something dangerous. It forces the body into an artificial state of hyperthyroidism, cranking the metabolism into overdrive and burning through weight at a rate the body was never built for. Unlike clenbuterol, this wasn't just backstage folklore. Multiple exposés on the industry described agencies directing young models to specific doctors, ones known for being willing to prescribe thyroid medication to patients who didn't medically need it. On paper, it looked like a legitimate prescription. In practice, it was a workaround, a way to chemically force a body into a size it couldn't reach naturally, with a doctor's signature to make it look clean. This is where the story stopped being about one mystery pill and started looking like a system. Some models were being handed unmarked stimulants through handlers. Others were being quietly funneled to doctors willing to prescribe thyroid drugs off-label. Different methods, same goal, and the same complete disregard for what it was doing to teenage bodies that were still developing. And the agencies that ran the biggest shows in the world weren't outliers in this. If anything, they were setting the standard. Nowhere did this culture show up more publicly than around the Victoria's Secret Fashion Show, once the most watched runway event on the planet. Former angels have since spoken openly about what the weeks before that show actually looked like behind the scenes. Extreme, tightly controlled protocols run by handlers and nutritionists that pushed models' bodies to the edge in the name of looking flawless under studio lighting. Erin Heatherton and Adriana Lima have both described the physical toll of those pre-show routines in interviews, protocols that left them dealing with real, lasting health consequences long after the cameras stopped rolling. What connects their accounts to the mystery pill story is the same underlying pattern. A model's body wasn't treated as something to protect. It was treated as a product to be optimized on a deadline, using whatever method got results the fastest, whether that meant a starvation diet in the final 48 hours, a synthetic stimulant with no label, or a thyroid prescription she didn't medically need. None of this happened because a handful of models made bad personal choices. It happened because an entire structure, agencies, nutritionists, and yes, complicit doctors, quietly normalized it and made it feel like just another part of the job. So, what actually happened to the girls in the middle of it? Some models who used clenbuterol reported lasting cardiovascular issues, including irregular heartbeats that persisted long after they stopped. Others who went through unnecessary thyroid manipulation described years of hormonal disruption that didn't simply reverse once the show was over. And for many, the psychological toll of learning their bodies had been chemically manipulated without real informed consent lasted far longer than the physical symptoms did. In the years since these stories surfaced, the industry has claimed to change. Several major agencies now say they've banned prescribing thyroid medication off-label and distanced themselves from stimulant use backstage. But there's no independent body actually verifying any of that behind closed doors, which means the honest answer is nobody outside the industry really knows how much has changed and how much has just gotten quieter. What we do know is that for years, an untold number of teenage girls were handed unmarked pills by people they were taught to trust completely and told almost nothing about what those pills actually were. Follow for more stories the fashion industry never wanted you to hear.